Now, it might be a bit unfair but I'd like to link what's going on in Alderney and Sark and Guernsey and Jersey and even the Isle of Man. Now, I expect that'll be stretching it a bit. But, I mean, obviously, Jeremiah's like myself are always predicting the collapse of the system. But there are things going on. I mean, this particular thing focusing on Sark and the most unexpected call for something like a soft Privy Council inquiry to take place on Little Sark. Are they serious population of 600 people? They can't look after themselves. Do you not get a feeling? I mean, you're now visiting Jersey. There's a lot of discontent in Jersey, isn't there?
Yeah, I certainly. I read the JP regularly, and I've been astonished at the amount of public reaction that's happened. Principally, I think that the impression I got is a large proportion of the public, and I don't know how big that is, have become very disaffected with decisions made Jersey State.
Of course, one leading point, which you may not have picked up, of course, the editor of the JP has changed, and the JP in its style has become much more investigative, and it is looking at things where previously it probably would have kept its eyes closed.
Well, I think that's a good thing.
Yes,
but what
I'm
I've also noticed, though, is that the state's agendas have shrunk to virtually nothing. There seems to be very few questions tabled anymore. And on the odd occasion, I have been a bit cheeky and put my earphones in and listened from Alderney to the Jersey State's question time, particularly, which is interested. And I've certainly detected an astonishing degree of almost arrogance from the ministers and contempt for
They are
a
untouchable.
review
They are
and
untouchable.
challenging.
They are untouchable.
And I've certainly been very unhappy about. And of course, the key things for me, being a failed senatorial candidate, if you like, the chickens are coming to roost now. All the things which myself and others who weren't elected or said have been shown. But, one doesn't gloat about that. But it certainly is hard to swallow that where you now hear these things coming out which were known and not spoken about openly. And if only, I'm not detecting, there seems to be a willingness to engage with the...
Well, there is no opposition. This is the tragedy. I mean, it is the old, they used to talk about Jersey Limited. It really is becoming Jersey Limited. It's being run along company lines. And they have a very small board of directors and they have control and there's no challenge.
Well, I mean, I've only got bits and pieces of evidence on my return trips to Jersey to go on, but I attended the planning panel on Friday and I witnessed, I think, a pretty awful piece of failed democracy, where there was a large body of people who had come forward to represent their views, residents of Halfdick Parr and Green Street, about the development of a piece of green open space into what would become a tunnel, a busy tunnel of development, rather like probably Gloucester Street now is. Green Street will become that. And I didn't think those people's views got a fair hearing. The very least, I think, I would have thought there should be scope for a planning inquiry to have been ordered, because here you had government policies in the island plan being effectively regarded as insignificant. Set this aside because here's another policy which trumps it, as it were.
Absolutely. Well, as you know my feelings about the Jersey Island plan, the sooner they scrap it the better, because it's a complete, it isn't a plan for the whole island, it's a plan to separate St Helier from the other parishes. That's what it's all about.
Well, I certainly was a critic of the 2011 island plan because it is loaded with contradictions and contradictory policies, all of which mean that those judgments have to be made by the planning officers and members of the planning panel, and those things are inherent.
Why did you feel it was different in your... Because you were the chief officer at the planning. Why was it different? Was it different?
Well, I think it was. Certainly there was much greater clarity in the 87 plan, and there was greater clarity in the 2002 plan, which Senator Nigel Kerry and Alistair Lazell piloted through, and they had the benefit of consultants. At the time, W.S. Atkins, I think, were used. I think the 2011 island plan was a DIY job, and I think that was a mistake. and I've certainly, in Alderney, where I've taken on responsibility for their land use plan, I've advised them strongly to have very clear, straightforward, simple policies. And we're
But the
working.
pressures in a place like Alderney on to want to
They're
build
not.
must be very minimal.
That's correct. They are. There's nothing like
No.
there's nothing like the pressures. But when I heard on Friday, I heard the Constable of St Helier say he challenged. He said, "Look, the panel should be very careful to just disregard the opinions of the constable responsible for the town area of St Helier, disregard the views of the citizens and the people of the area and the elected members. You should be very, very careful about doing that." And I was certainly, when he reminded them about the commitments made by the Chief Minister and to St Helier, the special protection that was going to be afforded. Oh yes, we will see. I had my doubts. I was very pleased when that objective came out of the strategic plan. In fact, it was one of the arguments I put during the election that this should happen. But I'm not seeing the connection between words and deed.
Well, there wasn't any space about the Green Street thing. That was actually a building supposedly of local interest, but that was of no interest whatsoever when it came to they would demolish it. So what?
I've only got symptoms, bits of the situ to go on, but on those things, I'm not seeing the evidence that I would very much welcome to see of community planning, engagement with the community, working with the parish, working constructively, because in the end, if the urban areas are turned into ghetto areas and overdeveloped, Jersey will pay the price through the social problems and the social expenditure which follows, to be sure. And so I have real problems about how those...
Well, I think he's already paying that price because things like the black hole are related to such things, because this is lots of people claiming benefits and welfare and all the rest of it because they can't find suitable housing of their own, and this is all symptoms of a grand problem, I think. Not the same in Guernsey, apparently.
Well, interesting enough, I mean, obviously, I hear a lot about more in Guernsey, in Alderney. And of course, Guernsey has got 60,000 population, where Jersey has got 100. And I was very, very interested in a very recent report comparing the finances of both islands, which had been published by our Jersey Statistics Unit. And I thought it was a very, very lot of important messages in there.
The fact that